Good evening. Welcome you all to day two of this fantastic evening. Yesterday, based on the overwhelming support that we got, we had close to 1,060 participants who logged in. And one interesting feedback that we got is saying that, they wanted to hear more from Karthik and less from the moderators. So we will try to stick to that today. And a few announcements to make before we formally hand it over to Karthik. So I've been joined by my colleague Alan Pinto, who's part of the commodities team. So he's also going to help me in moderation. And today's flow would be that Karthik would start first. He would introduce you to a lot of concepts, some of the jargons, post which Gauri from my team will give you a complete overview of our contract. And then the third announcement that I have is from tomorrow, what we would do is Karthik will introduce three questions during his session. So the questions will be ranked in terms of complexity. There will be a simple question to start with, and during the session, there will be a question which has got a medium intensity. And at the end of the session, there will be a question which will be slightly complex. So we will have these questions for tomorrow and day after. And whoever is going to respond with a positive or a correct answer, you can be rest assured that if your mobile number and email address is correct, we will get in touch with you. And on behalf of NSC, IBJA, CPI, and Zerodha Varsity, a gift will land at your doors. This is the third announcement. The fourth announcement is that, we have got a fantastic feedback from Mr. Surendra Mehtaji. A lot of bullion and jewelers have approached IBJA saying that once the session is over, the 4-day session, they want to get into a slightly advanced level of training. So it is a very positive feedback as far as NSE is concerned. So what we are suggesting is that we are creating an exclusive link on our webinar page tomorrow. So whoever is interested to have an exclusive advanced training session. So when I say advanced, if we will only talk about strategies. We will completely try to understand your requirements, and we will frame an optimal strategy where your risk matrix are completely handled, and with a minimal outflow, we will ensure that your objective is fulfilled. So this is the announcements. These are the announcements from my side, and now it's all over to Karthik. Karthik, good evening. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Narendra. So the screen is visible, right, Nagendra?
Perfect, Karthik. Perfect.
Yeah. Great. So welcome you all for the second day of this option webinar. Today, I'd like to formally introduce few jargons and the associated concept with these particular jargons. I, I would be referring back to the example that we spoke about yesterday, that is the gold transaction between two traders, Vishnu and Harish. I'll be referring back to that because it adds continuity and helps you, relate to these concepts better. I hope you are you remember the example. Yesterday's session we closed by introducing the put option. As an assignment, I had asked you to think through what would really happen, in for the transaction that we laid out. So let me just jog your memory through that. Just a second. Yeah. So stock is trading at 90. You're given a right to sell the same at say rupees 85, but only if the share price on that day is less than 85. Would you like it, right? So obviously you would, because this means to say that even if the share is trading at 75, you can still get to sell it at a higher price in the open market, that is 85, right? So the amount that you would pay for this as premium is 5, right? If the share price moves below 85, you will exercise your right and sell the stock. If the share price is at stays at or above 85, then there is no point exercising your right. All you lose in this case is rupees 5, right? So this is an example of a put option. So the we spoke about this, and what I really wanted you to do is think through the three possible scenarios of stock price, decreasing, stock price increasing, stock price, staying flat. And I wanted you to think through what is the likely, profit and loss scenario. More than the profit and loss, I wanted you to think through whether it would make sense to exercise your right as a buyer or option buyer here and execute the trade or not. Okay, so that's really the important message here. So I hope you've done that. Let me go through the solution for that today. Okay. So three possible scenarios. Let me start with the stock price going down. So before we go through the scenarios, I want you to pay attention to the effective selling rate here. The effective selling rate here would be 85. 85 is the price at which the transaction is going to occur. But we've already paid 5 rupees as premium. So, and we are talking about a sell scenario here. So we'll have to deduct this, 5 from, this, from 85. So your effective sell rate would be 80, right? So let's go back to the three scenarios. The first one is the stock price actually comes down. I'm referring to this, referring to a stock price here, but in reality, it can be any asset. It can be gold, it can be crude oil, or a stock price, right? It can be any asset. So first scenario is when the stock price comes down to 70. Obviously, you will execute your right to sell here because you're getting an option to, getting a chance to sell a stock at 80 rupees when in the open market the same is available at 70. So you're obviously going to make a higher profit here. So you would execute and go ahead and sell your sell at 70, sorry, 80, right? Now the second scenario is when the stock price goes up to 110. Now obviously it would not make sense for you to sell at 110 because to sell at 80 because in the open market you can sell it at a much higher price. So there is no point in executing your right. The same is true for the stock price staying flat at 90 because in the open market it's available at a higher price. So why would you want to execute and sell it at a lower price, right? So three possible scenarios, and only one favors you as a buyer of this agreement. Two favors the seller of the agreement, right? Now, when I'm talking about what favors whom, this is only a theoretical, statistical perspective, right? So there are more angles to this which we will explore as we proceed. So this was a part of yesterday's discussion. I hope you've thought through these three scenarios in the same way as we just discussed now. If you've kind of got all the concepts, whatever we've discussed yesterday and up to now, a fair understanding of this, then I can reasonably assure you that your basics of options is headed in the right way. Okay, so with that in perspective, let's dig into what we have to discuss today. Today I would be discussing, specifics around an options contract. Okay, jargons and the associated concepts. So let me start with something called as the strike price. Think of the strike price as the anchor price at which the buyer and seller agree to enter into a contract. Okay, so in the gold example that we spoke about yesterday between gold trader Vishnu and Harish, the deal was stuck at 46 lakhs, right, for 1 kg of gold. So 46 lakhs becomes a reference price, right? And therefore, that is the strike price for that particular contract. Then when we introduced a call option, we discussed about, a stock price with an anchor price of 75, right? So 75 was the strike price for that example. We just discussed the, a put option example. with 85 rupees as the reference price. So 85 was the strike price there. Now, in reality, when you go to an options market, there are multiple strike prices available to you. You as a trader will have to choose a strike price you're comfortable trading with. Now, of course, there is a lot of theory, there is a lot of practicality to choose which strike price to trade on. We will address that maybe on day 3 or maybe day 4. At this point, all I want you to remember is that there are multiple strikes for you to choose from. The exchanges sets strike price at regular price interval. Okay, let me give you an example of that. I'm going back to the gold example that we discussed yesterday. So think about this as a strike price table for now. Okay, so at every price interval, I've taken 1 lakh as the price interval here, starting from 42 lakhs all the way to 48 lakhs, right? So at every price interval, a gold, an options buyer can choose which strike to trade. Okay, and at every strike, if the contract is liquid enough, then at every strike there will be a seller available to you. Okay, so if you look at this table, at 46 lakhs, there was a seller available, and he happened to be Harish, right? So likewise, at every strike price, there you will always find a buyer and a seller. Now, the entire transaction, instead of 46 lakhs, would have happened at, say, 45 lakhs or 48 lakhs, right? So that is really up to the buyer and the seller to arrive at that decision. I want you to hold on to this thought of strike price for now. We will revisit this again shortly later today. The next concept is the underlying price, or the actually it's not underlying price. I think I'm mistaken there. It's just the underlying. Okay. All derivative contracts has an underlying. An underlying is the one that actually powers a derivative contract. It could be futures or options. The underlying is the asset based on which option contracts are also based. In Vishnu and Harish's example, the underlying was gold, right? In the stock example that we took, the underlying was a stock. There are plenty of other, underlyings available in the derivatives market. We have index as the underlying. So NSE's Nifty 50 is an underlying, and we have option contracts on that. We have futures contracts on that. Bank Nifty is also an underlying, right? Then we have crude oil, which can be an underlying. I was just looking at it. COMEX even has milk contracts available, which means to say the underlying is milk, right? So I think there are orange futures also. So any tradable asset, any asset which has a daily tradable pattern can be made an underlying. Okay. Now, if you look at it, the other way to look at this is any asset which has a time series data of something like a open, high, low, close on a daily basis can be made a underlying, right? And you can have derivative contracts on that. So obviously gold gets traded on a daily basis in the gold market, and therefore gold and gold derivatives on futures and options on gold.
Karthik, one point here. So since you're talking about underlying, Nifty as an underlying contract is the world's largest traded derivative contract.
Of course.
Nifty as an underlying, Nifty options.
True. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make that as a point.
Yeah,
go ahead, Karthik. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's the underlying. Okay. Now there is a lot size concept. Again, lot size is the minimum number of the minimum quantity you have to transact in. So there is So at this point, I want you to recognize and appreciate the fact that when you're talking about an options contract, right, or for that matter, even a futures contract, everything is pre-decided, right? The underlying is pre-decided. Today, when you trade gold contract, You enter into a options contract with gold as the underlying. Tomorrow you can't come back and say, no, I want to trade silver instead. So that's not possible, right? So everything is pre-decided. The quantity of gold, the quality of gold is already pre-decided. The minimum quantity in which you have to trade is also pre-decided, right? So in this case, the minimum quantity happens to be the lot size, right? So other examples of lot size is Nifty 50, which, like Nagendra said, is an extremely popular contract across the world. The lot size is 75, right? Bank Nifty is 20. So lot sizes again keeps changing over time based on how the asset price moves. But maybe we can discuss that point some other time. But for now, I just want you to be aware that when you enter into a contract, there is a minimum lot size that you will have to transact, right? Expiry date is another key concept that you need to remember. Every contract or an agreement has an expiry date. In fact, the presence of an expiry date is what really differentiates between the underlying asset and the agreement itself, right? The underlying asset, for example, if you're talking about a stock of the share of a company, that is a going concern that will always continue to exist as long as the company continues to exist. Gold as an underlying will always continue to exist, right? It won't cease. It doesn't have an expiry date. So what differentiates gold from, let's say, a gold derivative contract is actually the presence of an expiry date. These contracts expire, on a pre-decided date. When the contract on the expiry date, whatever is the price, right? That's the price at which the buyers and sellers are settled. Of course, settlement is a separate topic that we'll have to talk about. But for now, just understand that the price on the expiry date is what mandates the settlement between the buyer and the seller, right? Going back to the gold example that we discussed yesterday, we simply stated that the contract is going to expire 3 months later. But in reality, it won't be arbitrary like 3 months. It will be a specific date on the third month, right? For example, as we speak today, we are in the month of May 2020. Bank Nifty and Nifty, contracts, monthly contracts are going to expire on 28th of May, 3:30 p.m. Right? So there is a specific time, there is a specific date on which this contract will expire. After that moment, they no longer exist. Right? So the presence of expiry date is an extremely crucial concept. Has a very deep impact on the pricing of an option, which we'll talk in a bit. So you need to be aware of this, right? Now the premium itself, right? The premium is the price that the buyer pays the seller, right? Against the payment of this premium, the option buyer buys the right to exercise his desire to buy, right? So you pay a certain amount of premium, and the moment you pay, you are binding the seller into a obligation. And moment he accepts that money from you as premium, you are entitled to execute your right? So premium is a very critical aspect. The entire theory of options, the entire, if you think about options as a car, the premium is the engine of that car, right? So the entire theory hinges upon option premiums. So as we proceed from this stage onwards, we will all our discussion is going to be centered around the premium, right? The premium is a tradable variable, so it trades every instance, right? So at every instance, there are several factors which influence the premium, and as a function of that, the premium itself keeps changing, right? So in case of the gold example that we discussed yesterday, Vishnu paid Harish 1 lakh rupees, right? Now 1 lakh is considered the premium amount. that Vishnu paid and Harish received. Now, against this payment, Vishnu got the right, Harish got into an obligation, right? Now, there are several factors, like I just mentioned, there are several factors that affect the premium. For today, I'm just going to talk about two of such factors, news flow and time itself. Okay. Now, think about this, you know, for a moment. When Vishnu entered the trade with Harish, he entered it only based on a hunch. He remember we did a rewind back to December 2019, and at that point Vishnu had a hunch that in 3 months the world is going to change, and all asset prices are going to crash except for gold. So at that point there was no news flow. It was only a hunch, right? So and therefore Vishnu decided to get into this contract. Now, for a moment, think about think from Harish's perspective. When Vishnu would propose this deal to him, statistically, he has there are only three possible scenarios: gold price going up, gold price coming down, or staying flat. Statistically, or 66%, 0.66% favors Harish to take that position, right? So that's why he took that position. Now, apart from the statistical edge, he also knows that there is no news flow, which kind of helps him make a better decision. He feels there's nothing happened, world is going to be the same. Therefore, he's more encouraged to take that position, right? So news flow makes a big impact. I'll put this in perspective. A short while from now, we'll revisit this topic. Just a second. We'll revisit news flow, but let's quickly address time also for now. Okay. There was 3 months to going back to the same gold example. There was 3 months for Vishnu to get clarity on the direction of gold price, right? So the expiry was 3 months from now, and that means to say there are 90 days for Vishnu to get clarity on which direction gold is going to head in, right? Now, more the time, better it is for the buyer of the option, which is Vishnu in this case. Now, here's an analogy of how time impacts. If you were to run, let's say, 10 kilometers, okay, now how are you most likely going to achieve it? Are you going to achieve it in 20 minutes or 70 minutes? Obviously, you have a higher time to cover the distance, higher probability of you finishing the distance. Likewise, when there is more time, there is higher probability of a price going in a certain direction. Lesser the time, less probability of that particular price target to achieve. Now let's put both these two things, right, news flow and time, in perspective. We'll isolate them and see how it would individually affect the premium, right? Let's go back to news flow. So as we discussed, at the time of entering the agreement, Vishnu only had a hunch that the world is going to change and therefore the gold price would increase. Now, for a moment, think, what if actually there was some sort of evidence that the world will indeed change? Not just a hunch, but let's say there was a research paper or a publication or some sort of theory which actually kind of supports Vishnu's contention that the world will actually change. Do you think Harish would have accepted this trade? Maybe not, because he too knows that there is a possibility of the world changing and the gold price going up. So he may not actually take this trade. Now, what is it that Vishnu needs to do to convince Harish to sell him that gold? He can't obviously go propose a 1 lakh premium to him. Now, if he has to entice the seller, or Harish in this case, then he will have to offer him a higher price. Why? Because there is evidence, there is a probability that the world will change and the gold price will increase, right? When news flow comes into picture, when there is more evidence to back the direction of the asset, the price direction, the direction of the price in which the asset will move, then there is more risk for the seller, right? So, and the only way you can convince him to get into a deal with you is by offering a higher premium. Now, when you offer a higher premium, the seller, or Harish in this case, will be enticed to take the trade, because end of the day, there's still a probability game, right? So yeah, so the only way to compensate this is by offering a higher premium, right? Let's actually continue with the same thought process and put this in the in the backdrop of a stock. Assume Infosys is trading at 700 today. 750 call option with 1 month expiry is trading at 10 rupees. Put yourself in Harish's place, option writer's place. Would you enter into an agreement by accepting 10 per share as a premium? If you enter into this options agreement as a writer, then you're giving the buyer the right to buy Infosys at 750 1 month down the lane. If you don't see any foreseeable corporate action that will trigger a change in Infosys stock price, maybe you will accept the trade. If you see that there is nothing going to happen to Infosys in 1 month, the price is going to remain stable, price is going to stay at or below 700, then maybe you will accept 10 rupees and sell that option. But on the other hand, what if you know that the quarterly results of Infosys is due, right? And because of the quarterly result, there is a chance that the stock price will actually increase or decrease. You'll never know. So, but it is a non-zero probability now. So there is a chance that the stock price will increase. Would you, as a seller, still accept 10 rupees as risk premium for yourself? Maybe not, because you know that there is a higher probability. Now, the only way you will get into this trade is the premium is not 10, but something more attractive, right? Something like a 50 or a 70 rupee premium. I'm just randomly quoting numbers here. Don't get into the specifics if you're familiar with options. This is just to convey the thought process behind how the premium would be impacted, right? So yeah, at this point, all I want you to do is recognize and appreciate the fact that when there is a news flow which impacts the direction of the asset's price, right, then the premium will increase. It has to increase. That's the only way sellers will be enticed to sell the contracts for you, right? Now, let's go to the impact of time on premium, right? When there was only 1 month time, Vishnu very clearly knew that there was ample time for expiry, right? Ample time for expiry, and there was ample time for gold prices to react.
Karthik,
Sorry?
Karthik, can I interrupt? So you've talked about the impact of any positive news on your premium pricing, right?
It was not. I was just talking about the news flow. It can be positive or negative.
Right. So any news which will have an impact on your pricing. So in the example of Vishnu and Harish, the 1 lakh which was agreed upon. So there, both Harish and Vishnu would have factored in all the available news that they have.
Absolutely.
And they would have anticipated, okay, 3 months ke baad, gold will only be at 46 lakhs. Correct. So I am also convinced that it will be 46 lakhs. The buyer is also convinced at that point of time, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
So if one of them have an undue advantage of having some insider information or some unknown thing, then that is where, actually the option writing becomes riskier, and, he might tend to lose the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Two points that you made, Nagendra. One is, at the time of entering into an agreement, both the buyer and the seller will develop their own, theory. They'll develop their own opinion on where the asset is likely to move. Right? End of the day, different opinions is what really makes a market. Right? So every seller, every buyer will develop his own theory, and they'll factor in all those things and place an order on the exchange. Right?
So it's basically a market driven. The premium is a market driven, just the way you price a stock.
Absolutely.
The premium is also a market driven, where the buyer and seller agree upon a price which is derived out of their own internal calculations, computations, risk assessments.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Now actually, that's a good point. See, the thing
sir, just one thing. I think, but
Sure.
in case of gold, the risk are since it is an international commodity, and it is not based on the performance of a particular company, like in case of stock.
correct.
So in case of gold, there may be n number of news which will affect the gold prices.
Absolutely. See, that's one thing with commodities, especially international commodities. While it's a very simple task to analyze a company which is local, which is domestic, it may not be that straightforward to analyze a commodity, that too of something like gold, because it's an international commodity. You will have to factor in several variables before you place your trade as a buyer or a seller. Now, there is a definite thought process on based on which you can develop these opinions, right? So, and one of the theory is eventually all news factors in and reflects the price. So most of the international traders of international commodities, they just look at the price action, which is available to you in the form of charts and volumes and whatnot, right? So understanding the charts and developing a perspective on that is an indirect way of factoring in all the news that is available in the public domain, right? Was that okay, Surender? Did that answer
Yes,
your question?
perfect. I think one more factor which really affects the gold price is the dollar INR,
Absolutely.
because we have seen many times, in spite of the market going down, international market for the gold going down, because of rupee depreciation, the gold prices keeps moving up in our country.
Correct.
So I think that is very important factor.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all the news may not matter in case of Indian gold prices.
Yeah, so that's what. So there are domestic factors, international factors. There are fundamental factors. There are technical factors. So as a as a trader in gold options, you will have to kind of bring all these different theories, connect the dots, and then place a trade. So, and I think like yesterday Nitin was mentioning, risk management is the key. So once you connect all these dots, you will kind of develop your own risk framework, and that's how you'll have to trade these contracts, right? So yeah, so going back to how time impacts premium. So when there was not 1 month, 3 months here actually. So when there were 3 months to for going back to Vishnu and Harish's example, when there was 3 months, right? There was ample time for for gold to show a sign of a trend. Now, instead of 3 months, what if it was only 10 days, right? There are only 10 days and the bet is only on 10 days. Since the time has shrunk and there is simply not enough time for the event to unfold, under what circumstance do you think Vishnu will be enticed to get into a deal with Harish? Previously, we were thinking from Harish's perspective. Now we've shrunk the timeline, and we are thinking from Vishnu's perspective, the option buyer's perspective. What do you think will entice him to get into a trade, right? Obviously, if you tell him that 10 days, give me 1 lakh, it may not be a very good deal. He will be enticed only if the premium is much lesser to pay, maybe 50,000 or maybe 20,000, right? So when there is less time, the premium that the buyer would want to pay is also lesser. Remember, we are isolating time, we are isolating news flow, and we are thinking about what kind of impact it will have. In reality, when you go to the market, all these factors simultaneously act on the premium, right? So the point that I'm trying to make here is, you need to keep both news flow, time in perspective, and you need to understand that a premium is never a fixed price point. Premium is sensitive to several factors, and all these factors simultaneously act on the premium, and it either has an increasing effect or a decreasing effect in real markets, right? So think of it as multiple forces acting on a variable, and the variable itself showing a price pattern, right? To be very specific, there are four factors which impact the premium. These factors are called the delta, the gamma, the vega, and the theta of an option. These are collectively called as the option Greeks, which we will talk about tomorrow, right? As of today, all I want you to understand is what is a strike price, what is the expiry, what is a what is a lot size, what is a premium, and I also want you to appreciate the fact that premium is not a fixed number; it keeps changing, right? And what causes the change is news flow, time, and then there are other factors which we will discuss tomorrow, right? All these factors simultaneously act on the premium, and it either has an increasing or a decreasing effect, right? The last bit for today, I would like to cover something called as an option chain and the associated concept of moneyness of an option. So what we are seeing here is an option chain. It's available on NSE's website, very beautifully represented. Nagendra, I have to tell you this. I've seen, the exchange websites of so many different markets. I don't think so there is any exchange which puts out information as beautifully as NSE does, right? Extremely helpful for a retail trader. And I've seen NSE's website evolve from, I think, 2006. And each time with every new update, the website just gets better, right? So any retail trader can go to NSE's website and look at this option tail. It's readily available for it. Changes on a real-time basis, right? So let's just cut this into two halves and look at it, okay? Now, every option strike, right, has something called as, it can be classified as in the money option, in the money strike, at the money strike, or out of the money strike. Okay, we are only talking about a call option now. Now, the easiest of all of this, of between the three, is at the money. Just a second. So at the money is that strike which is trading close to current market price. Okay, so I'll go back to the previous image. When I took the snapshot, Nifty was trading at 9,100, roughly close to 9,100. Sorry, I'll have to just silence my phone. I forgot to do that. Sorry. So when I took the snapshot, Nifty was trading at 9,100. So that means to say the strike of 9,100 becomes at the money, right? 9,100 is close to current market price, and that becomes the at the money strike. All option strikes lower than at the money. Okay, so that means which are the strikes lower than at the money? That would be these strikes. Sorry. 9,050, 9,000, 8,950, so on and so forth. All these strikes are called in the money options. All strike price which are higher than at the money are called out of the money options, right? So always think about it from the at the money perspective. For call options, all strike price which are lower than at the money are in the money, higher than at the money is out of the money. Mathematically, if you subtract the strike price from the spot price, if you get a non-zero value, that becomes a in the money option. Okay, so let's go back to this. So let's say I'm looking at 9,000 strike. So 9,100 is at the money. So 9,000 strike becomes in the money. Why? Because when I subtract the current market price, right? So sorry, when I subtract the strike price from the spot price, that is 9,000. From 9,100, I get 100, which is a non-zero value. Therefore, it is a in the money option. When strike price is approximately equal to spot price, that is at the money. So spot price is 9,100. Strike of 9,100 becomes at the money. If spot price, when I'm talking about spot price, I mean the price at which the asset is trading in the market. Spot price minus strike price, if you get a negative number, then that becomes a out of the money option, right? Remember, this is only with respect to call options, right? It means sorry.
To explain it in simple terms, the Harish and Vishnu example. Suppose they have agreed to buy, get into this transaction to buy the gold at 46 lakhs on the expiry day.
Right.
And on the expiry day in the physical Zaveri Bazaar market, if the gold is 47 lakhs.
Sorry, okay. Nagendra, I lost you on voice. Can you please repeat that?
So in the Vishnu example, Vishnu and Harish example, you have said 46 lakhs, right?
Correct. Yeah? Yes.
So on the day of expiry, let's say they have decided to buy it in a month's time. In Zaveri Bazaar, in the bullion market, if it is 47 lakhs.
Correct.
So for a call option, he has made 1 lakh because he is buying it at 46 lakhs.
Correct.
And whereas the market, in the physical market, it is 47 lakhs.
Absolutely.
So that's the difference. See, call option, everybody will understand because the tendency is to buy things, right?
Correct.
So put option is where I think, my request is every day, if we can re-emphasize every day at the beginning of the session, the difference between a call and a put, just one slide for a minute, so that, we will get this concept as far as put writing is concerned and put buying is concerned.
Correct. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So in the money is when, the prices have increased. So we will talk more about that, right? So if you look at this, this is the strike price table that we discussed earlier. So the strike was 46 lakhs, right? At the point of entering this trade, gold was also trading at 46. Therefore, for that contract, this was a agreement at the money option, right? So this is how you identify in the money, at the money, and out of the money call options. And why do you need to identify these options? This becomes extremely important when you are trying to set up trading strategies. Okay, just to give you a perspective, when you are setting up something like a bull call spread, which is a trading strategy, you're required to buy at the money option and sell out of the money option. I know it may sound a little complex for now because you're still not familiar with these concepts, or so I'm assuming. But when we discuss the Greeks and get into strategies, this may become a little more easier. But at this point, all I want you to remember is how to identify at the money, in the money, and out of the money options for a call option. Sorry, at the money, in the money, and out of the money strikes for a call option, right? If you look at NSE's website, this is the one half of the option chain from NSE for Nifty. So there is a section which is shaded in pale yellow, pale green, right? So all those strikes, which is spot price or the underlying price is 9,100. So 9,100 is the at the money option. All strikes below that is your in the money options, so which is shaded in a different color. And all strikes below 9,100 is out of the money option, right? Now, there are two things that you should be able to relate to this option chain. One, you know what is the strike price, so it can range, from across multiple values. And I also want you to look at the LTP here. These are nothing but the premiums that are getting traded, right? Forget about all the other columns for now. We will discuss that later. But I just want you to look at the strike and the premium now. Okay, so this is for
Karthik, just one thing. You said in the that spot price is the main criteria to decide whether it is in the money, at the money, or out of the money.
Correct.
Now, in case of gold, from where we will get the spot price?
So in gold options contract, the underlying is the gold futures.
In the current exchange where there is a 1 kilo options contract, the underlying is a futures. But in what we are proposing to launch, it has to be settled physically on spot gold. So we are using the services of Cogencies to poll the prices. So they ex Ahmedabad, they poll the prices and we update the prices on our website. So as per the proposed methodology, on the expiry day, we will compare the strike price with the spot price. Again, there is a logic. It is not just 1 day's spot price. It is an average of last 3 days spot prices. And depending on whether your spot is greater than strike or lesser, we decide whether it is closest to money or in the money or out of money.
Yeah.
That is the proposed methodology. Having said that, in the last 2 months, we have been having an issue in getting spot prices through our polling agents. So we are trying to work out an alternate model, which we will make it public, because end of the day, the investors need to know the basis on which the contracts are going to get expired. Having said that, the fundamental principle of comparing your strike price with the spot price remains. If we are not able to get spot price from the sources that we already have in place, defined the framework already in place, approved by SEBI, whatever alternate mechanism we are going to impose, we will make it open, we will be transparent.
Yeah, I think this plus a lot more details about the contract will be clearer when you formally introduce the contract. So before that, let me just quickly wind this up for today. Okay, so this is the moneyness of call option. For put option, it is slightly different in terms of defining what is in the money, at the money, and out of the money from a mathematical perspective. But the at the money concept is the same. The strike closest to current market price becomes your at the money option. All options strikes lower than at the money, right, becomes your out of the money options. All option strikes higher than your at the money becomes in the money option, right?
Karthik, I have to excuse. I'm sorry because there is an emergency. Okay. One of our colleagues has just passed away, so I'm sorry. So I'm just have to rush. Surendra ji, you please, you and Gauri. Gauri will do the presentation. And all the questions, I think the team will ensure that the right questions are put forth to Karthik. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to exit. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, bye.
Right. So this becomes ITM, ATM, and OTM for put options. If you look at the NSE's option chain, 9,100 is the at the money option. All strikes higher than 9,100 becomes in the money. All strikes lower than 9,100 becomes out of the money option. So they're shaded different, right? So that's it I've got for today. So tomorrow we'll come back and discuss option Greeks and how it's going to impact on the premiums. Gauri, maybe you want to just introduce the gold option contract for now?
Yeah, sure.
So I'll unshare my screen.
Please. Let me share my screen. So thanks, Karthik. You made my job easier by explaining the key option concepts, which one must be familiar with to understand what I'm going to present right now. Good evening, everyone. Hope you and your loved ones are in the pink of health and doing well. As announced in the inaugural session, we are going to launch trading in gold mini options contracts on 8th June. So let me take this opportunity to brief you about the key product specifications. The lot size of the gold mini options contract is a standard 100 grams contract with the underlying as a spot gold price ex Ahmedabad. The options contract shall be European styled, which can be exercised only on the expiration date. And these contracts on expiry day, on exercise, will be settled by actual physical delivery of gold with Ahmedabad as delivery center to start with. A smaller contract size, which is 100 grams here in case of gold mini options, is considered to be better suited to the needs of the industry and also the hedging requirements of many jewelers. This value of one gold mini contract would be approximately 1/10 of the size of the contract that are currently traded available for trading on the other exchange, which would also mean the premiums per lot would also be 1/10 cheaper to that of the 1 kg contract. Since the contract does not devolve into futures, the applicable CTT is very negligible. And there is one more good news here. There will be no transaction charges, at least for the first 3 months. That will be, since it's a new product for us. These contracts are available for trading during normal commodity derivatives market timings. That is 9 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. or 11:55 p.m. based on US daylight saving time period. It's a monthly expiring contract, and at any point of time there will be at least 3 months contracts, 3 consecutive months contracts that would be available for trading. So on the first day, that is on June 8th, you will have June, July and August contracts available for trading. So June will be available with the expiry date as 26th. July will be available with the expiry date as 29th. And August will be available with the expiry date as 28th. The advantage of monthly expiries vis-a-vis bi-monthly expiries is of course in the lower theta value. As lower the time to expiry, lower will be the premiums, hence lower time decay value of options. In terms of time decay and theta, I'm sure in the next session Karthik is going to kind of cover. So at this point of time, let's understand this. So contracts will be available with a strike interval of 250, which are expected to provide more liquid and well-spaced strikes to capture the underlying volatility. So as you can see in the slide, the difference between each strike is exactly 250 points. That is, you can see ITM1 and ITM2, the difference is exactly 250 points. And at any given point of time, there will be minimum 10 in the money, 1 at the money, and 10 out of the money strikes available for trading, which means there will be 21 strikes will be made available for trading. This would also mean that market participants would have almost 2,500 points covered throughout the strikes in any given day, I guess, which is sufficient to capture the gold volatility. The price quoted in the order book, as you can see in the right hand corner, the price quoted in the order book is the premium rupees per 10 grams of spot gold with a tick size of 50 paisa. So what you see here, or what gets quoted here, is the premium that the buyer is willing to pay, or the seller is willing to accept for 10 grams of spot gold. And the tick size, which means with what is the price, with what price that you can better your quote, is 50 paisa. So a single tick movement would result in 5 rupees. Vis-a-vis 50 rupees, at the incumbent exchange. To ensure continuous liquidity and quotes in the order book, because any new contract to be successful, there has to be liquidity in the order books. The order book needs to be very liquid with tight bid-ask spreads. So to ensure continuous liquidity and quotes in the order book, we are going to have a designated single market maker who would be providing continuous bid-ask quotes with the tighter spreads. To this effect, in fact, we have issued a circular to the market inviting the applications. As far as the settlement of these contracts are concerned, participants would be given an option to exercise or not exercise the eligible contracts. Contracts which are exercised on the day of expiry will be settled by compulsory delivery of physical gold with Ahmedabad as delivery center. This we have already discussed. So in order to understand the settlement mechanism, we should understand the terms such as contract expiry day and moneyness of strikes. Moneyness of strikes, just now Karthik has explained as in detail. So here we would be combining some strikes to arrive at CTM. So let's understand these in detail. So the contract expiry day here is the business day preceding the start of tender period in the corresponding expiry futures. So the tender period starts 5 business days prior to the expiry day of futures contract, which happens to be 5th of every month. So that is about the contract expiry day. And the moneyness of the strikes can be classified into close to money, in the money, and out of the money strikes. So just now we have understood what is an ATM, OTM, and ITM. So you'll be able to relate it better. So the strike price, which is closest to the final settlement price. So the final settlement price, which was explained by Nagendra during his talk on how the settlement price is arrived by taking the average of last 3 days gold price of the spot. So here we would look at the strike price, which is closest to that final settlement price. So in this example, if the spot price happens to be 47290, so the nearest strike would be 47250, which will be termed as 47250. So that will be ATM. And this ATM and the immediate 3 strikes above and below ATM strikes. So the strikes which are shaded, highlighted in green are the strikes that I'm referring to. So all these 7 strikes will be referred as close to the money contracts. Here we have taken the example of a call option contract. So in this case, ITM 1, 2, 3 and OTM 1, 2, 3 will be collectively referred as CTM, and all other ITMs, that is ITM 4, ITM 5, so on and so forth, shall be exercised automatically unless do not exercise instruction has been given by the buyer. Whereas all the CTM contracts shall be exercised only on explicit instruction of exercise by the buyer of such contracts. Now all the OTM contracts, except those belonging to the CTM, shall expire worthless. So the OTM 4, 5, 6 here in this example are 48,250, 48,500 and 48,750. These are options shall expire worthless. So a complete flexibility has been provided in the hands of participants to say exercise or not exercise based on their preference. And the final settlement price shall be arrived as discussed, by taking the simple average of last polled spot prices of the last 3 trading days. And on the expiry day, the delivery order rate shall be the strike price. So whatever is the strike price, that is going to be the delivery order rate. And the settlement obligation shall be computed at respective strike price of the options contract. Settlement will happen on expiry plus 6 days, and it provides adequate time for the final position holders to manage their metal or fund requirements. We have already issued a circular outlining the detailed product specs. You may go through the same for complete details. So that's it from my side. Would be happy to answer if there are any queries. Ishank?
Gauri, just I think most of the things are very clear, but settlement is little tricky. And for our viewers, for the gold viewers, what is this option with physical delivery? What does it mean actually? Because we have all been hearing that options devolves into future, but this is something which comes with the physical delivery. So what is the difference?
So on the day of expiry, so these contracts which are available on NSE will not devolve into futures. In fact, they will be delivered, or the actual settlement will happen on expiry plus 6 days. And as we understand, there will be a final settlement price which will be computed based on the simple average prices that are polled by the agency which is engaged by the exchange. So based on that position, so the delivery order rate shall be fixed based on the strike price. So the settlement obligation actually will be computed at the respective strike price of the option contract. And on the day of expiry, if someone wants to receive the metal, they can keep their contracts open if it is a buy contract, or at the end of the day, if the position is long, then he can keep the position open after the expiry day. So the actual settlement in the physical gold would happen on the 6th day from the expiry day. Have I answered your question, sir, or do you need any?
नहीं, आई थिंक थोड़ा ज्यादा क्लैरिटी चाहिए, बिकॉज काफी गोल्ड वालों के हमें क्वेश्चन ये आ रहे हैं कि अगर मैंने कॉल ऑप्शन बाय किया है और मुझे लगता है कि प्राइस ऊपर जाएगा, लेकिन मुझे फिजिकल डिलीवरी नहीं चाहिए. मान लीजिए जब भी आपका सेटलमेंट खत्म होता है, सिंस इट्स अ यूरोपियन स्टाइल, तो मैं बीच में एक्सरसाइज नहीं कर सकता. तो मान लीजिए हम जून का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, जैसे आपने बोला 28 जून लास्ट डेट है, तो 28 जून को उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का क्या मुझे डिलीवरी लेना पड़ेगा?
सर, आपके पास 2 ऑप्शंस हैं. एक है कि आप कोई भी दिन अगर आप नहीं चाहते हैं कि आप डिलीवरी लेना चाहते हैं या देना चाहते हैं, तो आप आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट स्क्वायर ऑफ कर सकते हैं नॉर्मल मार्केट। सो अगर आपका लॉन्ग पोजीशन है, आपका अगर बाई पोजीशन है, तो आप सेल कर सकते हैं, या अगर आपका सेल का पोजीशन है तो आप बाई कर सकते हैं। तो आपका पोजीशन जो आप स्क्वायर ऑफ कर सकते हैं एक्सपायरी दिन तक, इवन एक्सपायरी दिन में भी। और आपके पास और एक उपाय भी है, जहां पे एक्सरसाइज करने के लिए आपको एक ऑप्शन दिया जाता है। आप ही को बताना होता है एज अ ऑप्शन बायर या ऑप्शन होल्डर कि आप एक्सरसाइज करना चाह रहे हैं या नहीं चाह रहे हैं। अगर आप ऑप्शन एक्सरसाइज करना चाह रहे हैं, इसका मतलब आप डिलीवरी लेना या देना चाह रहे हैं। अगर आप ऑप्शन एक्सरसाइज नहीं करना चाह रहे हैं, तो वो उस दिन एक्सपायर हो जाएगा। या अगर आपको लगता है कि नहीं, मैंने बाई किया हुआ है एक्स प्राइस और मुझे सेल करना है एट एक्स प्लस सम अदर प्राइस, अगर आप ऐसे भी करना चाह रहे हैं तो आप स्क्वायर ऑफ कर सकते हैं बाय पुटिंग ए सेल ऑर्डर। अगर आपका बाई,
लेकिन मान लीजिए कि मैंने ऑप्शन बाय किया और मुझे अभी मुझे लास्ट डे पे डिलीवरी चाहिए, लेकिन जिसने मेरा कॉल मैंने कॉल ऑप्शन खरीदा है, लेकिन जिसने कॉल ऑप्शन बेचा है ही इज नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड टू गिव डिलीवरी, तो क्या होगा?
सर ये ईशांक,
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
मेहता, ये एक डिलीवरेबल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है। आपने कॉल खरीदा था, हम करंट स्क्रीन का एग्जांपल लेते हैं। आपने कॉल खरीदा था करीबन 46,500 का। जैसा एक्सपायरी दिन नजदीक आया तो स्पॉट प्राइस मूव टू 47,290, यानी भाव ऊपर चले गए। आप डिलीवरी, तो सामने वाला जो आपका काउंटर पार्टी है जिसने कॉल सेल किया था आपको, उसको आपको माल देना पड़ेगा, आपको पूरा पैसा देके माल लेना पड़ेगा।
आई थिंक कुछ कंफ्यूजन है, जो गौरी जी बता रहे हैं और जो आप बता रहे हैं उसमें डिफरेंस है।
I'll repeat my example, 46,500 का आपने कॉल खरीदा था। जैसा एक्सपायरी का दिन नजदीक आया, स्पॉट प्राइस बढ़कर 47,290 हो गया। एट द मनी आपका 47,250 होता है, तो आपका प्रॉफिट आता है करीबन 750 रुपया। यू आर इन द मनी, इट गेट्स ऑटोमेटिकली एक्सरसाइज, और आपका पोजीशन अगर ओपन है तो आपको सामने माल मिल जाएगा। अगर गौरी जी आपका काउंटर पार्टी है, ऑन द अदर साइड ही विल हैव टू गिव यू द एंटायर मेटल of 100 grams, assuming you have a position of 100 grams.
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि अगर सामने वाला डिलीवरी के लिए रिफ्यूज करता है तो क्या होगा?
It is just a default case, just like in futures. जैसा फ्यूचर में सेलर ने रिफ्यूज किया माल देना, उसको 3% पेनल्टी लगता है, out of which 1% is passed on to the buyer. A similar kind of structure will fall in this place also. आपको आपका 1% पेनल्टी प्लस स्पॉट का प्राइस और जो डेरिव का प्राइस है उस दिन का आपको डिफरेंस मिल जाएगा।
Well, can I just add to this?
Yeah, please, sir.
Yeah. So, Surinder ji, there are couple of things that can happen. One, let's say a gold trader does not intend to take delivery. He doesn't want to get into the whole act of taking physical delivery or giving gold or buying gold. He can participate just by the change of premium. Right? All he needs to do is he needs to have a view on which direction the gold price is going to go, and accordingly he can buy the relevant call or buy the relevant put, and just play on the premium itself, right? Because the premiums continuously vary. So that is one thing. So for example, if he's bought at something at 460 premium, he can wait for it to go to 500 or 550 or whatever, square off, and don't get into this delivery aspect at all. So that is for one set of participants. Now, if someone wants to get into physical delivery of gold, then all he has to do is hold the contract till expiry date. He could be a seller or he could be a buyer. If he holds the contract till expiry, then it is deemed that he is taking delivery of the of the contract, and if he's liable to give the metal, if he's a seller, then he has to give. if he's liable to buy the metal, then he has to buy. So there are two options. So based on his perspective, he can choose what to do in the options market. Is that right, Gauri?
Yeah. So सुरेंद्र जी, आपके हर एक ट्रेड का काउंटर पार्टी सेटलमेंट गारंटी जो है वो क्लियरिंग कॉर्पोरेशन लेता है. अगर आपका लॉन्ग पोजीशन है, आपको अगर गोल्ड मिलना चाहिए तो आपको गोल्ड दिया जाएगा बाय क्लियरिंग कॉर्पोरेशन. वो सेटलमेंट गारंटी जो है क्लियरिंग कॉर्पोरेशन विल टेक इट. अगर आप सेल कर रहे हैं तो आपको पैसे आना चाहिए. वो पैसे का गारंटी, सेटलमेंट गारंटी, या अगर आप बाई कर रहे हैं आपको मेटल आना चाहिए, उसका सेटलमेंट गारंटी. दोनों के केस में क्लियरिंग कॉर्पोरेशन एनसीएल विल बी द गारंटीइंग पार्टी.
अच्छा, तो इसका मतलब है कि डिलीवरी चाहिए तो लास्ट दिन तक मुझे वेट करना है, और लास्ट दिन पे मैं नॉन डिलीवरी ऑप्शन एक्सरसाइज नहीं कर सकता हूँ, कि कर सकता हूँ उस भी दिन में स्क्वायर अप कर सकता हूँ?
सर, एक्सपायरी डे के बाद उसमें ट्रेडिंग नहीं होता है सर. तो आप
एक्सपायरी मान लीजिए 28 जून लास्ट डेट है, तो 28 जून को 27 जून तक मुझे डिसीजन लेना है, या 28 जून को भी मैं डिसीजन ले सकता हूँ?
28 जून के एक्सपायरी 11:30 तक,
सुबह 11:30. ओके, गॉट यू.
अगर आप स्क्वायर ऑफ करना चाह रहे हैं तो आप कभी भी डिसीजन ले सकते हैं सर, पर लेकिन आपको डिलीवरी लेना है या देना है, अगर आपको पोजीशन ओपन रखना है, वो आपको 28 के 11:30 पे आप बताएंगे.
Got it. Thank you.
Gauri, I can see one question for you, and I guess one question is for Karthik.
Yeah, please.
So first, I'll go with, I'll ask for the context related question to you. So one person is asked, when you say the premium is based on 10 grams, so when a person is buying, say, one lot, how much premium would he actually be paying?
Okay, well, so we have seen in the order book what gets quoted is the premium per 10 grams. Now, as we understand, one lot equals to 100 grams of gold. So you need to multiply that quote with 10. So it will be 10 multiplier contract value. So if you want to understand the value of one lot, it will be 10 into that premium. So in the example which we have seen, the order book, just let me share that with you. Are you able to see the slide?
Yes.
Yeah, in this case, there is a buy quantity of 25 lots with buy price of 470. So this 470 is the premium for 10 grams of gold. So one lot equals to 100 grams of gold. So you need to multiply this 470 into 10 to understand the value of the premium per one lot. So it's going to be 4,700 per one lot.
Okay. It's coming here. What will be the margin required for writing an option in case I want to write a call or write a put?
Sorry, is that question for me or Gauri?
Gauri, sorry. So sorry. Any you can answer it actually.
So
What's the margin for selling an option or writing options? Gauri.
So the margins, the clear-cut outline in terms of how the margins are going to be charged is part of the circular that we have already issued. So there is no one set margin that one can prescribe. It all depends on the volatility at that point of time. It is based on the portfolio level margins, span level margins, which will be applicable. So depending upon what volatility is prevailing in the market at that point of time, the margins requirement will be covered.
Another question that has come in is that we are referring to a tender period. Somebody wants clarity on that, and will we be publishing the underlying spot prices every day? We are mentioning that the settlement will happen on the average 3-day spot price. So,
Yes.
what is the tender period? And will the underlying spot price be published every day?
So, so in terms of publishing, that we are looking at where we can publish the underlying price. But as far as the settlement price is concerned, that what is going to be the simple average, that price will definitely be published to the market. And of course, we are some noise in the background.
But one more question is that is the settlement of gold mini at any time or only on expiry? I think you've defined that at the start, but if you can just elaborate.
So the final settlement price is going to be on the day of expiry. The final settlement price is going to be on the expiry date, which is already explained is the simple average of last 3 days gold spot prices.
Karthik, I have a question for you. So one of the participants has asked for some European options, extending the time to expiration can decrease the value of the put. Can you please explain?
Sorry, I lost your audio. Can you?
So for some European options, however, extending the time to expiry can decrease the value of put. Can you please explain?
Extending the time can decrease the value of a put option. See, time has an equal effect on both call and put. It doesn't necessarily have to affect only the put option. The only difference between European and American is in an American option, you can, you have the flexibility to exercise any time. So that imposes a higher risk for the seller. So any American option tends to have a higher premium. So there are two options, okay? The same one is American style settlement, the other one is European. The American style option will always be more expensive compared to the European one, right? So, but time per se, as far as I know and I understand, doesn't specifically have an impact on put. It has an equal impact on both call and right? In fact, we will understand more of this tomorrow when we take up Theta.
Just one more question. One very interesting question. Is launching of this 100-gram contract will give an arbitrage opportunity with 1 kilogram contract?
Can I answer, Mr. Mehta? Can I answer, Mr. Mehta?
Yeah, please. Alan, please.
There is a price difference in 100 gram as well as the kilobar. We've seen a similar difference in the future derivative contracts also. That difference will obviously be reflected in the options because these are options based on settlement. Lastly, during expiry, I have to settle my position by giving a 100-gram bar or giving a kilobar. One exchange has a kilobar option contract. We have got a 100-gram millibar contract. Both are deliverable. So having said that, the difference in the physical market in terms of shortage or excess will derive or get replicated in the options contracts also.
So it means there will be an arbitrage opportunity.
Yes. So somebody who has a fair understanding of the physical market in terms of demand supply can take advantage of the arbitrage opportunity.
Just to add to that, arbitrage is actually dependent on the way you define arbitrage, right? So it could be a arbitrage on the prices, it could be an arbitrage on the volatility, it could be an arbitrage, time-based arbitrage. So, based on how you define the arbitrage, you will have to find if there is a trading opportunity. So that also is something that you'll have to consider when deploying an arbitrage strategy.
Thank you, sir.
I think Surendra Bhai would have a lot of perspective on the physical market. So hope to hear a lot of questions. If he can collate and come up with questions, I think it will be beneficial to the entire audience. So tomorrow, hope to see a lot more questions from Surendra Bhai.
Definitely.
Okay.
I'd like to thank Karthik for an insightful session.
Thank you so much.
Surendra Bhai for all his insights. And Gauri for making a lovely presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, Gauri. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope tomorrow we'll get to learn more on the Greeks of option.